Good morning, everyone. I can't promise you that this session will be more active than what we have just done, a great breaking ice exercise. So it's a pleasure to meet you all here today. I'm really delighted to have been asked to join the summit and give some few remarks on what we have been doing in the past few years, what's the current status, and what's the future. So for those who are not very familiar, the Executive Office of Anti-Money Laundering, Counter-Terrorism Financing, it's a federal agency that has been created back in 2021 to function as a central supranational authority looking after all AML and CFT initiatives. The idea, or I would say the concept behind was what I would like to call it for those. I'm not sure if you have go through a book by Oprah Winfrey, a recent one, What Happened to You, talking about the trauma, the shocks, the post-trauma resilience, and wisdom. And that was the case, I recall, in 2020, post to the FATF Mutual Evaluation Assessment. The question was, from the top leadership, was that what went wrong? Why we are in such situation? While UAE has been known for many years as an economic hub, adhere to the global standards. We are top FDI attraction. We are a safe environment. We provide safety. We are a home for over 190 nationalities. And this is something in our DNAs and in Emirati. We don't look at this only for Emiratis. UAE has been always made by citizens and residents. We are one nation. Security is there. So what happened? What was wrong in particular? And when we start to look at, I would say, I was fortunate to be tasked at that time from my previous role to be seconded among other seniors to set up this function. The question was, okay, we do have law enforcement agencies. We do have police departments. We do have prosecution. We have financial intelligence unit. We do have regulators, central bank, Securities and Commodities Authority, financial free zones. So what was wrong? And the simple thing is accountability. Who is in charge? Who is responsible to lead this, I would say, file or agenda? So the creation of the office was basically on three key pillars: that we want a centralized policy and strategy function. Someone who sits on the top can look at the national, I would say, landscape and determine where we need to move and how we adopt the risk-based approach. The second core function was, okay, we are a federation of 7 emirates. We also mainland and free zones. This is our, I would say, DNA. This is our destiny. And this is also one of our key competitive advantages. The federal system gave each emirate its agility to build different business models. So we don't look at this as disadvantage, as many maybe outside think it is. No, it's not. It gave the country that kind of flexibility. However, this means that you need to coordinate with federal government and 7 local emirates, leading up to almost 90 different stakeholders from the public sector. So domestic cooperation and coordination is not a luxury. So we created the second pillar, which is responsible for national coordination and follow-up. The third aspect is basically, this resulted from a global assessment and how, I would say, the international community look at us. A lot of issues we have seen in the past 2-3 years was related to, I would say, adverse media, related to perceptions, related to also to how much we are engaging with our international counterparties. Now, as a country, United Arab Emirates is among the top in the soft power. Our passport in the passports index among the top. We are active member in most international organizations. In less than 2 weeks, we are hosting COP. So why in the financial crime area we are not that much active with the Financial Action Task Force, with the Organization of Economic Development, with the IMF, so on and so forth? Again, from financial crime perspective. So the third pillar was to create a function that's responsible for communication, strategic communication, and partnership. That's basically leading the economic diplomacy side. So these are the 3 key things we have worked on. That's kind of a historical background to give you an idea, I would say, what is the executive office, what are our key functions, and our strategy. Now, what has been done in the past 2 years is what I would like to call it a transformational change. We did not went through 1 or 2 key projects. The entire system was, I would say, transformed from a process-based system to a risk-based system to look where are our risks. Bring all the regulators into that, I would say, approach, the law enforcement agencies and also financial intelligence unit and other policymakers like Ministry of Finance and others. In 2 years, we have managed to get 59 action items was required by the FATF into only 15. In 1 year, this 15 has been also resolved. The current status, what I can mention that this is something public, is that we are expecting an on-site visit. The FATF has announced that earlier in last month, precisely in October, that the United Arab Emirates has already completed the action plan, substantially met that, and warranted an on-site visit. What does that mean? Is that the country is qualified for an on-site visit, which we expect at the beginning of 2024, which will lead, inshallah, to the decision of having the UAE delisted. Now, from a protocol point of view, we are not allowed to speak much about this process, except this public part. What I can say is that post to this, the question is the sustainability of the system. What is the UAE is doing after February? Are we stopping? Is that it? Or we want to continue? And this goes back to our, I would say, background. Why the executive office has been created is basically to ensure the economic security and support the economic prosperity that we had built over the past 5 decades. Key projects for us, one of the area that I'm sure everyone is interested, a lot of discussions, it's virtual assets. We have defined a national policy less than, I would say, 2 years ago. We have been tasked in the office to develop a national framework, a high-level framework for virtual assets. And we had 2 basically options, or 3 options, let's say. The first one is basically to prohibit virtual assets, a general ban. Some countries has done that, but very few. To regulate it from an AML perspective, or to go for full-fledged regulations, which include the prudential, contact, AML, cyber, so on and so forth. And at that time, we thought that for us as a country and for the executive office, we want to take a balanced approach. For a country like UAE, you can't ban virtual assets. It's not something on the table. This economy is open economy, plus virtual assets, whether we like it or not, it's something happening. Now, there are risks. Yes, there are risks. The anonymity matters. Traceability is a huge concern or a big concern for policymakers, law enforcement agencies, and the intelligence functions. That's for sure. But if you want to mitigate a risk, don't try to ignore it. It will just get bigger and bigger. Embrace it. Make it under your oversight, and take it from that point. So we have developed a national policy that require all national regulators to take first a clear position towards the virtual assets. If certain regulator choose not to regulate and prohibit this function within their, I would say, scope of regulations, they have the right to do so, but they will need to put controls that will ensure detection of unlicensed activities. Then the other option that most regulators went to is that to start the regulations focusing on financial crime controls, AML, CFT, and cyber. That's what has been done in the past, I would say, 2 years with different regulators working with each other. We have seen also recently the central bank published a consultation on the payment. This also considered as an advanced step for a country that embraced digitalization and innovation. So virtual assets is one of the key areas that we are working on. The other, I would say, area I would like to talk about is the public-private partnership. And this is a concept that also new to the region. This was not explicitly required by the FATF. This was demonstrating that we as a country, we don't take FATF as only a checklist, but we really believe into AML and CFT to build our economy. The public-private partnership, I would say, in AML CFT mainly refers to sharing intelligence between the public and the private sector. Many were rushing to this conclusion, and I have been tasked to run this committee. And when I've been asked to do so, I was like thinking, shall we go only for certain stakeholders to work with, like the US, the UK did, certain banks only to work on that, or we want to go a bit broader and bring the other components of the economy into this committee? The decision was, we want everyone as much. We can't have all the private sector, for sure. We have thousands of financial institutions and DNFPBs, gold dealers, real estate agents, so it was not easy. But we brought the key banks, key financial institutions, and for the other sectors, we tried to engage with the industry associations. So for the accountants and auditors, we have the Accounting and Auditors Association with us. The same thing for the lawyers as well. Now, this committee has been functioning in the past 2 years, and what had been done so far is, first important thing is building trust between the public and private, and that area is important. It's all about trust. So a lot of discussions happened directly in the committee or indirectly through the supervisory authorities talking to the private sector. The financial intelligence unit have structured dialogue now as well with the private sector and vice versa. The first thing we have also done is on-site meetings. So we went to meet many of the private sectors on the ground to listen from them what are the key challenges they have before just go and draft a law that impose requirement to share intelligence. That was the last thing we wanted to do. We want to have it really a consultation. And I remember one of the, I would say, officials talking to me last year. It's like, you do a lot of consultation in your committee. Don't you think that's too much? I said, like, well, it's partnership forum, right? So if this is not a forum where we spend time to listen to the private sector and talk to them, rather than just impose policies and procedures, there will no be other platform better than this one. And we have done that for the guidelines that we are about to issue end of this year. That's our proposal, to sharing information on the strategic level, to sharing trends and typologies in money laundering and terrorist financing. We have done a consultation beginning of this year. We received some feedback on that, and we are in the final steps of getting the formal approvals to be published. And next year, 2024, the plan will be to draft an actual law to share intelligence, the operational intelligence between the public and the private sector. So this is, I would say, I got 2 minutes left, and I would like to spend that saying what has been done so far is based, I would say, on a core value that we have in the country. Is this country has been built on certain parameters and core values of trust, being trustworthy, credibility, and partnership with the private sector. Whatever we do, we want to ensure it's the right thing to be done for the industry. It's you who are on the ground on the daily basis. You understand what's happening. So I'm glad that I'm here not only to talk. I would like to spend the day today more to hear, to listen, to understand more what are, I would say, the updates, what are the trends happening. I think that's always a successful two-way communication between us. So I thank you very much, and I do wish you a very successful event. Thanks.